Peter, would you stop being so jealous? I dated Ross 20 years ago.
That's right, and that means he had you first, Lois. I'll always be Scottie Pippen to his Michael Jordan.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jordan!
And Scottie Pippen.
He's also good.
Why didn't they do Jordan last?
Alphabetical?
Oh, right. That's smart. You're smart, but still.
He's also good. Also good. Alphabetical?
Oh, right. That's smart. You're smart, but still.
So what does Derek Jeter, Silvio Dante, and Sheryl Sandberg all have in common? I'll give you 5 seconds to think. No clue? I don't blame you. They all have to do with being number 2. Both Derek Jeter's jersey number and his batting order was 2, Silvio Dante is Tony Soprano's right-hand man, and Sheryl Sandberg is the chief operating officer or number 2 employee at a little company known as Facebook. You might have heard of it. In many ways, being number 2 is a pretty sweet gig. Not only is your role important and critical to the operation at hand, but no matter what goes wrong, the blame you receive is lessened by the fact you only play the supporting role. Any failure of your organization reflects on the head honcho first and foremost. By the same token, however, there is a risk of your efforts slowly becoming less and less appreciated in the wake of unprecedented success. In 1939, a comic book writer by the name of Bob Kane went on to create a character known as the Batman. While it was clear right away from readers that the superhero was an instant hit, the Batman's lack of a right-hand man at the time caused a lag in the stories where he could really use another voice to confide in. Just a year later, in a push to gain younger viewers, Kane introduced a character by the name of Dick Grayson, who we all now know today to be Robin. Immediately after doing so, the sales of Batman doubled and catapulted the brand to become one of the biggest superhero underworlds in modern history. In quite literal terms, without Robin, it is hard to say where exactly Batman would be today. Similar to this phenomenon, the Robin of the Chicago Bulls dynasty, Scottie Pippen, deserves enormous credit in helping allow Michael Jordan reach his pinnacle. Yet, in review of the Last Dance documentary, I am reminded of the disrespect Pippen endured during this time and continues to receive to this day. It made me realize Scottie is not just underrated, he is the most underrated player in NBA history, and I have 5 reasons as to why. So what is good, people's kid? It's your boy Kobe back with another video, and as always, hope you guys are having a blessed day. Been a minute since I've uploaded, so hope everyone is keeping safe and maintaining their health during this time, as it has been completely insane. With ESPN helping out by releasing the Jordan doc earlier than expected, I, like many people, have gained more insight into the 90s Bulls teams that swept the league for almost an entire decade. While MJ gets most of the shine, and rightfully so, I decided I needed to make a Scottie appreciation video, as the man simply does not get talked about enough. Per usual, if you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and with that said, let's hop right into it. Number 5, the greatest wing defender in NBA history. While there are a lot of different ways to build this argument, let's start with the thing that came to define Pippen's game more than anything else: his unrelenting commitment to playing defense. Unlike many NBA stars that usually rest on their laurels with what they accomplish on the offensive side, Scottie's approach to giving 100% on D naturally gave a spark to the Chicago Bulls of the 90s and lessened MJ's burden to guard the opposing team's best player. At 6'8", 225 pounds, Pippen was incredibly versatile, having enough lateral quickness to keep up with point guards on the perimeter, while also having the length and physicality to deliver timely rim protection. Despite being an 8-time first-team All-NBA defender, further adding to his underrated narrative is the fact he never won a Defensive Player of the Year award. Unfortunately, I just don't think the Last Dance documentary highlighted his impact enough, especially when the Bulls dynasty was still just in its infancy. In the 1991 NBA Finals against the Los Angeles Lakers, while casual highlights often will show the amazing Jordan layup to signify the greatness of Mike, a lot of people often forget Magic Johnson showed up the Bulls in Game 1 of that series. Don't get me wrong, Jordan was fantastic in the next 4 games and the clear finals MVP, but it was Pippen who rose to the occasion in guarding Magic from game 2 onwards and significantly helped limit the damage he would do. And ask a Bulls fan of this time, you can confirm this is just one of many overlooked defensive performances Pippen would provide the Bulls over the next 7 years. Number 4. Criminally underpaid and underappreciated by Jerry Krause. Before I pick on what many would consider to be low-hanging fruit in critiquing the late Jerry Krause, let me just say that I fully recognize how difficult it is to manage a team with as many personalities as the Chicago Bulls did during the 90s. No matter how clear it may be that Krause expedited the end of the dynasty, he also deserves a lot of credit for their overwhelming success. At the same time, however, it is also quite obvious he never truly appreciated the superstar he had in Scottie Pippen. While Pippen willingly signed the 7-year, $18 million deal in 1991 for financial security, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to recognize the Bulls front office fully took advantage of the situation by offering him the lowball contract in the first place. Yet what makes this even more problematic is their refusal to renegotiate the deal throughout his entire run with the Bulls, making his gap in pay among his peers embarrassingly apparent as the years went on. By the 96-97 NBA season, on a team that won 69 games, with Scottie contributing 20.2 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 5.7 assists, he made a paltry $2.25 million, good for 128th highest in the league. To make it even worse, Jerry Krause made it clear he was willing to trade Scottie at a moment's notice, with many close calls where this actually became a reality, including arguably after his best season of his career. Although I understand the NBA is a business, it blows my mind for someone who was so important to the dynasty to be treated as poorly as he was, and further illustrates how underrated he truly was, not just by the general public, but also by the Bulls management. Shame on them. Number 3. He possibly could have won an NBA title as a number 1 option. In the hypothetical Scottie Pippen bandwagon that is this video, I have a feeling this is where some may wish to get off the bus, as this assertion may be too aggressive on first glance. Yet if we carefully revisit some of his greatest seasons, it is not a stretch to claim Scottie was undoubtedly a top 5 NBA player in his absolute prime and had the capability to lead a team to an NBA championship. Of course, the most compelling case relates directly to his MVP caliber season, where he led the Chicago Bulls to an impressive 55 wins in 1993. Beyond his unbelievable box score production of 22 points, 8.7 rebounds, 5.6 assists, and 2.9 steals per game, Scottie demonstrated a team-first type of leadership that really allowed his teammates to build on their roles. While it is fair to correctly point out Scottie's development was largely accelerated by playing alongside Jordan, it really doesn't take away how good he became even when Mike stopped playing. I mean, sure, nobody will mistake him for a dynamite scorer that can guarantee a quality look at the end of the game, but his all-around skill sets would make it easy to rebuild around him as the centerpiece. Ironically, despite all the MJ-LeBron comparisons we live with in this day and age, I think most basketball purists would agree LeBron's style of play is much more akin to Scottie. Obviously, Pippen doesn't come close to the king head-to-head, but his unselfishness and ability to create offense from the forward position was first tier. I'm well aware the what-if game is something that can never be proven, but think about it like this. If it goes without debate Pippen was the greatest sidekick in NBA history, what makes it so certain that he couldn't do it by himself? With already 1 year that proved his value in '94, it is definitely not out of the realm of possibilities. Number 2. His greatest mistake is overblown and reveals a disappointing double standard. Like everyone else that watched The Last Dance without the benefit of living through the era, I gained a new perspective for Jordan and his teammates that goes far beyond their knack for coming through in the clutch. In simple terms, the mantra "nobody is perfect" was one of my biggest takeaways. From Jordan's gambling problems to Krause's overbruised ego or Rodman's battle with mental health, the off-the-court drama was far more than I anticipated. And when it came to discussion of Pippen's greatest faults, we are reminded of the time Scottie refused to re-enter the game in the 1994 playoffs despite the Bulls being down 2-0 against the Knicks. 26 years later, the Quentin Pippen moment remains a black eye on his otherwise stellar NBA career. Yet although there is no real defense for the core of what he did, I feel Scottie's decision is somewhat understandable given the context of his role on the team. With Scottie as the unquestioned superstar of the team, Phil Jackson's demand that rookie Tony Kukoc take the last shot in a situation typically assigned to the top guy was a complete slap in the face to Pippen. Combined with the fact he was grossly underpaid, while Krause made it clear he was tradable, I honestly think it is hard not to emphasize with Scottie with his constant predicament as the most underappreciated player in the NBA. And in a heated moment where this reality sets into your mind, a protest in this fashion may seem like a rational thing to do. On the flip side, apart from this moment, Scottie Pippen was a phenomenal teammate and a very kind and patient leader. Where Jordan led by example and sometimes even fear, Scottie was the type of guy who would offer comfort instead of aggression. Because he was such a nice guy, I think it subconsciously gave Phil and management the idea he would put up with things other superstars wouldn't. No way Jordan would have stood for that. No way LeBron would have stood for that.
To be honest, the play that was drawn up, I scratched it.
To be blunt, there is no way you create a play for a rookie in that situation with an MVP type player at your disposal. So it shouldn't have happened to Scottie, period. Number 1, Michael Jordan never won a title without him. As you can tell from my thoughts on the Last Dance documentary, I just don't believe they did Pippen justice. To see Jordan criticize him today for not playing the first half of the 1998 season because of his contract and saying it was, quote, a selfish thing to do, honestly has me baffled. With Jordan making $30 million a year and Pippen making a little above $2 million, how do you attack your teammate for protesting when he's being severely underpaid? Say what you want about Scottie Pippen and the fact he never won a championship as the lead dog, the plain fact he won 6 championships as the number 2 does not get appreciated enough. If we take a look at all the different rosters between the first championship and the last, the only 2 constant players on every title team was Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. I don't know about you, but to me, that speaks volumes on how important Pippen was and why his status as one of the greatest NBA players is sometimes overlooked. In my opinion, Scottie's a top 20 player of all time, simply because he performed the Robin role so perfectly. Don't get me wrong, I get it. Who knows how good Pippen ends up becoming without playing alongside Jordan early in his career, but couldn't we say the same thing about Jordan in some way? Obviously, Jordan would have still been one of the best players of all time, but would he have been the unquestioned GOAT, like so many have him without Pippen by his side? I'm not saying it's impossible, but I also think it is highly unlikely. So it is for that reason, and the reasons I've already mentioned, that makes me believe Scottie Pippen is the most underrated player in NBA history. Anyways guys, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. Just a quick follow-up video to the Last Dance documentary and felt like I had to say something. What do you guys think about Scottie Pippen? Do you agree he's underrated? Do you think he's the most underrated player of all time? Comment your thoughts below. With that said, hope you guys have a great rest of the day or night or whatever time it is. I'll be back at it soon. Peace out.